Let's look at exactly what these energy proposals, which are just tax increases, are. First, a huge category of President Obama's proposals are his so-called cap and trade plan. Well, let's make no mistake, cap and trade is a phrase in vogue. It's gained a lot of vogue. What it's about, again, is a tax on domestic utilities and domestic energy. It's a carbon tax. It's an energy tax, pure and simple. You can dress it up, you can muddy it up, you can try to confuse the public, but it's a tax on utilities and it's a tax on energy. Independent analysis by the Heritage Foundation estimates that the economic impact of the Waxman-Markey bill by 2035 will be enormous and it will be negative. Reduce aggregate gross domestic product by $7.4 trillion. Destroy 844,000 jobs, with peak years seeing unemployment rise by over 1,900,000 jobs. Raise electricity rates 90% after adjusting for inflation. Raise gasoline prices by 74% after adjusting for inflation. Raise natural gas that go to residential customers, American families, by 55%. Raise an average family's annual energy bill by $1,500. That's just a $1,500 a year tax bill to working class, middle class families. And increase the federal debt by 29%, again after adjusting for inflation. That's $33,400 of additional federal debt per person, again after you adjust for inflation. Well, some might say, well, this is a conservative think tank, this is biased. Well, there's independent analysis. In this case, it comes from President Obama. The President spoke very directly on the campaign trail. It was in a private editorial board meeting, but it was on the record, and we have his direct quote that said that utility rates would skyrocket. Quote, skyrocket. His word, and he's right. Now, in addition to his carbon tax, cap and trade proposals, President Obama has other energy taxes on domestic production, right when we should be increasing domestic production, increasing that bridge to the future, energy independence. He has tax proposals on domestic production that would do the opposite. $62 billion of new taxes on the so-called LIFO reserve through a change in accounting rules. Bottom line, $62 billion tax increase on domestic energy. $1 billion of new taxes by increasing the amortization period to 7 years for oil and natural gas production. Bottom line, billion-dollar tax increase on domestic energy. $5 billion tax increase with new taxes on a significant part of domestic oil and gas production, 25% of oil production in the U.S., 15% of gas. $49 billion on new taxes through the repealing of the passive loss exception for oil and gas properties. $13 billion of new taxes by repealing Section 199 of the manufacturer's tax deduction. $175 billion of new taxes by forcing states into a renewable portfolio system, which is particularly difficult and particularly troubling for states like Louisiana, which have many resources and many renewable resources, but not the specific ones demanded by that portfolio. And $17 billion of new taxes by reinstating the Superfund excise and income tax. Again, a package of enormous tax increases, all on domestic energy production. Now, if you raise taxes in a major, significant way on domestic energy production, do you think that production is going to go up or go down? Well, the answer is obvious in theory, it's going to go down. And the answer is obvious in history, in practice, it's going to go down. It did go down just with the Jimmy Carter windfall profits tax, which is small compared to this huge onslaught of new taxes on our utility bills and on domestic production. You know, Energy Secretary Chu has argued clearly in the past that if the U.S. wanted to reduce its carbon emissions, policymakers would have to find a way to increase petrol prices, as he put it, to levels like you see in Europe. So it's not a secret. Secretary Chu is saying we need to increase taxes on oil, the cost of gasoline. President Obama said on the campaign trail, we need to do a carbon tax, cap and trade, that will, of course, cause utility bills to skyrocket. This is not a secret.